Yeah.
I realized that a lot of these artists are just putting out singles kind of, every month or every 2 months. And that works really well with the social media generation, like this digital world that we live in. I think to have quick content coming out regularly is a lot more effective than, a full album every 2 years. So I just, from the beginning, I just decided that I was going to just do singles, and as regularly as possible.
Oh, I want to meet the maker. Yeah, I want to be there face to face. I know it's going to make me stronger. Yeah, you're going to be my savior. Oh, you're going to be there for me.
Welcome to the Musician Secrets podcast. Today, I have an alternate singer-songwriter with me today that I'm so happy for you to introduce. And we're going to talk about some of his songs and other cool music stuff. And I can't wait to introduce him. So everyone, please welcome Jennings Couch. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Did I pronounce your name right?
You did. Yeah, you did. It's perfect.
Okay, my heart can slow down a little bit now, but you also have, I forgot to even mention this, you also have your own recording production studio with a buddy of yours, right? Called
I do, yeah, I do.
Holywell studio, not Hollywell.
Yeah,
I always think it's holy water, but it's Holywell. Holywell studio as well. That's where you're tuning in from, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where I'm here now. This was kind of a lockdown project for us. Like when the first lockdown happened, there was nothing we could really do. We couldn't have sessions normally at our house or with other people. So we decided to get this space. And throughout lockdown, we were just building the studio and getting it ready, because that was kind of a dream of ours, is to have our own space. Because before the studio, we were kind of working out of my bedroom and out of his bedroom and back and forth, I mean, some of the songs that you can hear, I think even like Tastes Like Water was done in our bedroom, so to have a proper studio space is such an incredible, it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, I like it's like every musician's dream at some point is like, going out of the bedroom. Like producing in your bedroom is cool, but like at some point, you want to get your own space. So yeah,
exactly,
great, man.
It feels more professional, and now we can actually invite other artists down here to have sessions, because I mean there was no room in the bedroom for other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like squished in. Go on with the guitar. The other one is like try the drum set and for the people that don't know who you are, just explain. You can take as much time as you want. Your backstory, where you're from, and kind of what got you into music, and to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I was born in New York City. That's where I'm from. Yeah. And I got into music while I was in New York. So I think my first kind of experience with music was getting into Green Day. They were kind of the first band that I started listening to when I was like kind of 7 or 8 years old. And after hearing the American Idiot album, I got super into music, and so I asked my mom for guitar lessons. Yeah. And she was like, "Oh yeah, of course." So I started having guitar lessons. Dang. And then while I was still in New York, I started taking some piano lessons as well. And then we moved to London in 2005. I was about 9 or 10 years old when we moved here, and I was still really into music. So at school I started taking drum lessons. I was still doing guitar, still doing piano, and then I started doing vocal lessons as well to learn how to sing. Yeah. So from a really young age, I was always kind of into making music, and I wanted to learn as much about it as I could.
Wow.
And
smart.
I didn't really it was weird, because I never wanted to learn other people's songs. Like the guitar teacher, would try and teach me, this song or that song, and I never really wanted to do that. I wanted to learn like the fundamentals of music and songwriting. So from a very early age, I wanted to write my own songs. I think I wrote my first song at like 11 or 12 years old. But yeah, that got me really into songwriting. And at that point I was in London, and I was going to high school just outside of London, and started kind of taking some music production classes at school, after school. And that allowed me to apply to a music university here in London. It's called BIM. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it.
I've heard of it.
And
yeah.
So
I studied in Birmingham.
applied to BIM.
Not too far.
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I applied, actually, it wasn't called BIM. It was called Tech Music School. And but they got incorporated into the BIM company or whatever.
Oh,
so I applied to BIM for the songwriting course, and I got in, and I spent 3 years there, just kind of learning more, meeting people. I mean, I made the best connections there. I met my old producer and a lot of friends and collaborators. So that was a great experience to be able to just network with people, and and also get into the live music scene in London, because I'd never really played live before, and I knew as a young artist, it was really important to be able to play live as well. So that kind of opened up the doors and opened up my world and my mind to what career in music might look like. So that's kind of my story.
Dang. Yeah, like really early as well.
Yeah.
It's
all I've done my whole life. I've not done anything else other than music my whole life. Yeah.
Nice.
It's all I know, unfortunately. I mean, I have no CV. My CV is just like songwriter, producer. Like, that's it. I don't know anything else.
Well, that's
it's really
cool.
bad, because like,
no,
it's cool, but it's dangerous, because if I do need to get a real job one day, it's gonna be really hard.
Nah, like, that's what I'm saying, is like nowadays it's like the best time to be a musician, like, because like it's never been easier, really, because all the gatekeepers are gone. The internet, we can just do our thing, and we can do sync licensing and top lining, and all these big companies, or even Netflix, like even for movies, like through Netflix and Prime and stuff like that, like the movie like industry is booming, and so they all need music, right? So I'm like,
exactly.
At this point, I'm not like afraid that I like will be out of a job or something. Like, I mean, COVID was a bit of a like a weird one, like just but I mean, that's what, if you put all your eggs in one basket, or what is it called, like if you were just doing live performances, then that was like the best for you, right? But if you have like
exactly
incomes, you're like, oh, I'm doing sync and I'm doing top line, doing my own stuff, and and playing live and all of that, then that's just like one stream. Like, oh, I can kind of compensate.
Exactly. I think it's really important, especially as an upcoming artist, to make use of all the like revenue streams that you can. Like, don't just focus on one thing. You have to be able to branch out and experiment and tap into different networks. Tap into radio, tap into sync licensing, tap into top lining, like you said. There are websites like SoundBetter, which is part of Spotify, that you can get on there as a top liner or as a producer or whatever, and just tap into those other revenue streams. Because I think it's really important to use your skills as a writer or producer, and just branch out wherever you can. Yeah,
definitely. That's what I've been noticing, like, because I mean, I'm big on mindset and growth, and you need to kind of stay in front of everything, right? Nowadays everything's fast. And so what I've been really noticing is that all these like millionaires that have like all this cash flow, they don't have just one income stream. They have multiple income streams. Like, it doesn't matter for us as musicians, it looks different for someone else. Like, they'll have like houses they rent out, and all the, and that is like their income next to their online whatever they're doing, right? And so I'm like, oh, that's very interesting, because usually we just have like one full-time job and we do that all day, but that's cut off, and then that's it. But that's why they're like, oh, okay, so this happened, that doesn't matter, because I have like 5 or 6 different income streams, and until I figure that I'll have just rely on that or something like that. So that, I thought that was interesting. Like, why do I just have to do this one thing for the rest of my life?
Exactly.
Don't have to.
I mean, I've gotten really into collaborating recently, like much more than I've ever done. Like the last kind of year or two, especially with COVID, we've had like Zoom collaborations, and now that lockdown's over, having people actually come to the studio. I mean, I've done much more collaborating than I've ever done, which is amazing because you get to kind of experiment in different genres, maybe that you're not used to. You just meet other artists, and you just, you know, to have on the topic of income streams, you have royalties on these songs that you've worked on. And you know, you never know what one song might do. You know, one could go really big or something. So just to have that kind of, like you said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have an egg here, an egg there, an egg there, and just spread everything out. I think it's really good. Yeah.
Totally. Especially like songs that are like evergreen, or music videos. Like you make them once, and then they generate that income.
Exactly.
Forever, like as long as it's listened to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something, you know, that's the kind of the cool thing about music. It's not like a live performance, right? You do it once, and it's like one too many, and you know, and then when it's over, unless you record it again, then it's again. Or you take the audio and you have like a live version CD album that you have, right? There's so many options that like you can do nowadays.
Exactly.
Multiply that, and especially if you can do the thing once and then have it be an evergreen thing, that's the best thing you can ever do, rather than
exactly.
Like
I agree.
Pop gig or something like that. Record it and have a live version. Like
absolutely.
I love listening to live versions. It just gives a different vibe than that clean. You know, everything perfect kind of feel, right? I think I found you. I mean, I found you personally through a Spotify playlist. Because what I love about Spotify is that it really recommends artists that you would actually listen to. Like, it's not iTunes that's like, oh, have you listened to Ed Sheeran and Billie Eilish? I'm like, yes, but I want new stuff. And Spotify, I feel like, is not that biased, and they actually recommend music to you that you really want to listen to. And so you popped up. Oh, cool. And I think it was You Taste Like Water. And now I've had like time to listen to all of your stuff, and it's all like amazing and really good. So you're putting out great music. But kind of take us behind the scenes of, I know every song is different, but we all kind of have our rhythm, I would say, as what's the process like? Like, you can take a specific song if you want to, like Taste Like Water or Look at Me Now, or or whatever you want.
I would say my songwriting process, well, I always say that there's no rules in songwriting, right? There's no rules, but there are some guidelines, right? But for me, like it just, a song could kind of come from anything. So I could just be playing the bass and find a cool bass line, or I'm on the computer and I'm programming drums and I find a pretty cool beat or something. Or somebody says something and I want to quote that, or it becomes the title of the song. Or in the case of Look at Me Now, I had that song in a dream.
I'll try to ride the waves to a better place. So look at me now. I am not a soldier, but I can take it all. Reverse the fall, don't need to crawl. Look at me now. I am standing.
So I was having a dream, and I think it was me and my two sisters and a couple of my cousins. We were all sitting like around a table, and we all had guitars and stuff, and we were just like jamming out. But I just heard the melody and that lyric, like, look at me now. I don't know why I heard that. I was just dreaming, and and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, what was that? And it was like 4 a.m, so I just grabbed my phone and just sung it, look at me now. And I had the melody, da, 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 da. And I was like, okay, cool. That, so then I just put it down and went to bed. And so I woke up that morning and I was like, man, what was that? What was that thing? So I listened to it and I was like, okay, right. So immediately went downstairs. Just before I had the studio, I was in my house. So I went down to the studio and I put the whole song together that day. The entire song just like came out super quickly. I wrote all the lyrics, I did all the instrumentation, blah 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 in like a whole day. And sometimes that just happens, and for me it's the best feeling when a song just kind of comes out like that without any effort. For me, those are some of the best songs. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. So yeah, my process is kind of, I let things come to me, I let things happen, because I've learned, like, to force a song is kind of one of the worst things you can do. I've been in sessions with people and we're kind of stuck, you have writer's block. And we're just pushing, we're pushing too hard. We're trying these things, pushing too hard. And you just sit down after like 2 hours of trying stuff, and you're like, it's just not working. It's not clicking. So you just have to step away from it, take a break, and come back to it, because to force it for me is the worst thing. So yeah, like, it's really interesting. Yeah.
And I love it because it's different with anyone. Like, I just like to ask the question, like, everyone, because the thing is, like, when I first started, I'm like, oh, this is how everyone writes their songs, right? And like, of course, everyone, and then I was like talking with other musicians, and and being just surrounded by other musicians, and now talking with like loads of musicians on this podcast, and I'm like, like, it's not like everyone writes it differently. Like, it's very
everyone has their thing, everyone has their little things that they want to do or have to do, or they have to get in the zone or whatever,
Totally. Especially like when you're collaborating more, I think it kind of gets you out of that, that routine, more or less.
Exactly.
Kind of gets you out. That's true. That. And I think that's what makes collaborating so fun, is because you have to try something new, and that's usually when like new ideas come. And
exactly. Collaborating is so good for like opening up your mind. It's like you said, you could get stuck in your own routine. That's kind of dangerous.
in our we had a little chat before we recorded this episode, and there was something interesting you said that it's like a common theme I'm kind of noticing more and more, about releasing singles on a regular basis rather than an album after, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. I hope you don't feel like a broken record, but can you just kind of explain why you do that, and kind of like the rhythm that you had, or still kind of have, that you kind of get back into after COVID?
Yeah, I think when I started releasing singles was back in 2018, and I mean, I was just starting out from nothing, and I was working with the producer, and we were really, like, we had a lot of songs kind of ready to go. And we actually talked about, what should we do? Should we release these as an EP or as singles, and we just realized that, the artists that were influencing us in the genre that we were working in, which is kind of alternative pop rock kind of stuff. I realized that a lot of these artists are just putting out singles kind of, every month or every 2 months. And that works really well with the social media generation, like this digital world that we live in. I think to have quick content coming out regularly is a lot more effective than a full album every 2 years. So I just, from the beginning, I just decided that I was going to just do singles, and as regularly as possible. So I got into this routine of every 6 or 8 weeks, I was dropping a new song, complete with music video, acoustic versions, acoustic video. And I got into this really good routine of releasing, shooting a video, doing the acoustic, and then by that time, the next song was ready to go, and I would do it all again. And it honestly felt like a proper full-time job. I mean, I was just literally, over and over and over, which I loved, because every song is different, and you have to tailor, the release strategy and the campaign to each song. So I'd have to do a new photo shoot for every song and that kind of stuff. But I loved that. I think that was great. And I've seen a lot more growth in terms of, like, my socials and my Spotify listeners, that kind of stuff. I've seen a lot more growth from releasing singles than I think I would with a full album, especially because the amount of time it takes to just finish one track. I mean, to do like 12 for a full album, would take, so long. I mean, that's why bands take a year or two to do a whole album. And exactly. I just didn't have time for that. I didn't want to, wait for that. I wanted to kind of get out there and bash it out, you know. So yeah, I'm in the singles game now. Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of a thing I've been seeing more and more, that like artists are adapting to, because you know that's kind of what we talked about. It has, you know, that's a lot of momentum that's happening, right? You're always, especially like social media and stuff like that. They love regular content when they know, okay, every 6 weeks there's content every 6 weeks. Like they they love that, just because, you know, they know you're going to be on their platform, so they're going to push it as well. Because if they're unreliable, they're like, oh, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. It's like musicians, like it's I don't know, you're not going to book someone where you're unsure if they're going to show up or not. Like you need someone that's
exactly.
like, if I book him, he'll be there. He'll even be like 10 minutes early, or like that. It's the same thing with
I think I think social media is the driving force behind artists releasing, you know, singles very, very frequently. I think, you know, in this digital age that we live in, especially the TikTok age, people's attention spans are so short and so quick that, you know, you're just literally like swiping, and it's like 1 second per each swipe, you know. And I think to grab someone's attention, you need to, number one, to show up in their feed regularly. And number two, your content has to be like striking enough to make them stop and actually watch. So I think that, you know, that idea lends itself to the release strategy that we as artists kind of follow. And, you know, because we want to tap into that quick mentality, that, you know, that TikTok mentality, which is all over the world now.
It's crazy. Like now, like it's popping up everywhere, right? They had like, now Instagram has the reels, and now I just saw on YouTube they have
YouTube shorts. I know.
That's what they're called.
I can't believe it. I mean, there's so many platforms to think about now, you know. It's just like I feel like I can't keep up. So now what I do is just, I have to make one piece of content and put them all on the same platform, because who has time to tailor content for each individual platform? I mean, I surely don't. So you know, it's crazy.
Maybe if you have a team and you can be like, okay, like
put exactly like, once you get to that level, you can start doing that kind of stuff. But at this beginning level, I mean, gosh, it's a struggle.
No, you just gotta be, I think you just gotta be really productive with your time. So, you know, you'll have to make sure to, like, that's what I'm kind of like really into right now, is like, really, okay, what is really important, what drives the needle forward and what doesn't, like what is just stuff and what is like actually like pushing my music or my my podcast or whatever it is that you're working on, like what is really pushing that. And if it's not within that set, then don't do it, or find a way make it once and then you just kind of, you know, use it for everything else. Try to like recycle your stuff.
Exactly.
Nothing wrong.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's why I kind of like that you also bring out like an acoustic version, and then, you know, I think later on you did like a remix with one of your songs, if I saw.
So Savior had a drum and bass remix, which actually my producer that we run the studio with, he did that. He did that when I first met him, actually. That's how we got to know each other. So yeah, I think remixes are really good. Acoustic versions are really good. I mean, my mom kind of is the one who made me do the acoustic versions, because you know, a lot of my songs were a bit too like heavy for her or too hard, and she didn't really, you know, she was like, she was like, you're a great writer, but this is too loud for me, you know. So I was like, okay, all right, let's do quieter versions, acoustic version, you know. So
I can't blast it in my radio with a like. But I mean, that is also a great way to like just recycle what you have. You don't always have to reinvent the wheel every single time, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, that's how you know if it's a great song. It will sound good, even like acoustic, completely stripped down. It's like if it's not good acoustically, it doesn't matter what production you put on top. It's a great song.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Is there Is there like a favorite lyric that you have that you've written so far? I found one that I really like.
Oh yeah.
But I want to hear from you first. Is there like a favorite line that you have? Could be any song.
Wow, that's tough. Gosh. Oh wow. I think I feel like when I write songs, I have kind of like a thread or a vein that I stick to, kind of in that relates to all of my songs. I always seem to write about like social media in a way, in how kind of it affects me, or how I'm feeling about social media and what it's doing. So for example, in Tastes Like Water, that's about social media, and like, you know, that's about being in touch with a person on social media, but how fake it can be, you know, while you're online, you know, like, and that song is about how real life is always better for me than digital. Or even in like Tiptoe, you know, Tiptoe is about like kind of sneaking around on social media, like, you know, that it's about vanity and sneaking around and that kind of stuff. So I feel like there's always that kind of thread. But in terms of my favorite lyric, gosh, it might have to be actually "You Taste Like Water."
Reality. You taste like water. You're so vanilla. My favorite color. So paint me out.
I mean, for me, like, that's a song where I had the title first. So that song literally started with the title. Because
cool.
I forget how it happened. I think somebody said it or something, and you know, I heard it and I was like, that sounds so weird. Like, that is such a weird thing to say to somebody. You know, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, you know, you don't know, right?
You can't tell by the title.
I love. Yeah. So I love that. I was like, man, that's so weird. So I decided, right, I'm gonna write a song literally called "You Taste Like Water." And so I think those are some of my favorite lyrics. You taste like water, you're so vanilla, my favorite color. I think those kind of things are, you know, they're really interesting things to say to somebody, you know. Like, is it an insult? Is it not? Is, you know, it's weird. So I think
yeah. I had because I listened to all your stuff, and there was a lyric that I was, because I usually like listen to it while I'm like working on some stuff and like doing my research. And then for some reason, I don't know why, but this just kind of stuck with me, this line, and I hope I'm not going to butcher it, but it's from Underdog.
Oh wow.
It's from Underdog, and you say, every day I lie to myself because I hate to think I'm all alone.
Keep us under lock and key. Every day I lie to myself because I hate to think that I'm all alone. And every day.
I thought that was such a powerful lyric. Like, it literally, that line made me stop whatever I was doing. I'm like, wow, that is like some serious, like, I don't know. I'm a lyric person, so I listen to the lyrics, and that's why, I mean, I reached out, because I'm like, dang, like, this is not just great music, but you know, this guy is an amazing lyricist. I love especially songs that aren't just about, you know, the typical love songs and the breakup songs and you know, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's a time and place for that, of course.
Sure.
But you know, it feels so over exaggerated that when I hear lyrics that are different from that, it just makes, I'm like, oh, this is different. Okay, let's well, what do you got? You know, kind of like, okay, let's stay with this. And for some reason, like, this lyric just kind of stood out to me. Do you
Wow, that's really interesting.
Backstory to that, or like?
I mean, again, that song was kind of again in the same vein of like social media, kind of vanity. Like, I like to write about like what I call cognitive dissonance, like something that you know, might feel right but is wrong, or is wrong but feels right, or something you want but you can't have. And this push and pull idea, I really like to write about that kind of stuff. So again, that Underdogs was the same kind of thing. It was the idea that like I feel like an underdog, you know, I feel like you know, that someone who's like kind of left behind or left out, you know, especially on social media can give you those self-confidence issues, you know. You can feel left out, you can feel like you're not good enough or this and that. So yeah, that song is about that, really. Yeah.
Don't stop, back off, we're the underdogs. They like to keep us under lock and key. Hello, truth, how are you? Help us raise a flag. We've been waiting and we don't wanna hold back. Won't stop, to the top, we're the underdogs. They like to keep us under lock and key. Every day I lie to myself, 'cause I hate to think that I'm all alone. And every day you take it all, gotta go to the end of the world.
Yeah, okay, I love, like, the concept is just really good, and I don't want to give away too much, you know. I want people to listen to the song, but
Yeah.
but I don't know, that just line, it just stuck in my head, right? Because every day,
Wow, yeah.
because I hate to think I'm alone, because I think like everyone kind of feels like that, and when you say
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
you're like, this is how I feel, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
like, I thought I was the
yeah,
only
yeah.
one feeling this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then you say
yeah.
it, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel like that too, like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so
I mean, connecting with people through my music is like one of the greatest joys ever. I love when people say that they can relate to it or connect to it. I think that brings me a lot of joy.
now,
Yeah.
what's like your favorite part about music? Like, what is it that draws? Why music? Like, it could have been anything.
Yeah.
It could be dance, it could be cooking,
Yeah.
it could be like
Yeah.
drawing, you know, those are art forms as well, but like, why
Yeah.
music? Why do you think, you know, from such an early age you were drawn to it?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think I don't know. I mean, both my parents like are really into listening to music. They don't play anything. They're not musicians, but they love to listen to music. So I was kind of I was like what's the word? I was exposed to a lot of music, you know, from a very young age. And different music. Like they're mostly into country music, but my dad introduced me to like some rock and roll, and my mom to some like kind of pop stuff. So I had I don't know, I had a lot of exposure at a young age. And I think, I don't know, I just remember certain like chords, especially like piano chords, certain chords with a particular melody, the way that the intervals of the melody with the chords would interact with each other would really kind of make you, you know, you would feel something, you know, almost not even knowing what the lyrics were. If it was just kind of a good chord progression with a nice melody, there was, I don't know, it just, you kind of feel something, you know. I guess in the same way that a really good drum beat, you know, you can really feel that. You can feel that rhythm. And so I became obsessed with that feeling of like, of just interweaving melody, because when I first started writing, I was writing really like weird stuff, like really you know, I don't want to say jazzy, but I was using like weird chords and weird melodies and a lot of like, you know, verging on atonal stuff before I actually got into writing like commercial music. But I think that experimenting with that, because I was just looking for that feeling of like that really grabs you. I was like, oh, you know, that's yeah, I was really into that. So I think that feeling is what made me get into writing my own music. But then when I got older, I realized, you know, if I want to make this a job, I need to make music that people want to listen to, you know. So I you know, I try to take what I've learned and what I enjoy and turn it into commercial music, which, you know, which I hope I can get across in my music, because I hope my music doesn't sound the same as a lot of other music. I want things to be different. And that's why it's interesting when you mentioned like love songs. You know, I was always really against writing love songs, because it really made me cringe to hear another, you know, oh baby I miss you, oh baby I love you. I was just so tired of that. I was like, oh, why are people just recycling lyrics, you know, over and over? So, but so my latest release, Embers, is essentially a love song. It is absolutely 100% a love song.
You're my only friend round here, so I'm begging you to light the flame, 'cause I can't look away when your eyes are the embers.
But I wanted to say it in a way, I wanted to say my feelings in a way that maybe not has been said before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for Embers, I took the idea of, you know, like your eyes are the embers, right? Your love is the embers. I want to reignite that spark that makes that flame. So I kind of took that idea, and you know, the idea with hot and cold, because in the verses I talk a lot about cold and, you know, chill and stuff like that.
You're so damn cold. This flame's a dying ember. My mind is wrong, but this thing in my chest, yeah, does all the talking. Lay down my guard, 'cause it doesn't help to wonder as I wait for sun to burn the chill off my bones, 'cause I'm weak and I'm brittle.
So yeah, so I did write a love song, but I hope I did it in a slightly more interesting way than
Totally.
you know, than someone like Ed Sheeran or something, you know. You know.
Yeah, that is like a real like ballad love song. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, it is a ballad. It's a love song, you know. But I think it's good for everybody to have at least one song as an artist, you know. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying to like not write them at all. Like, it's funny because I didn't
Yeah.
write, because I started songwriting when I was like 12 as well. And after I convinced my parents that like wanting to play the guitar is not just a phase and stuff.
Yeah.
My parents took a little bit more convincing. But you know, I was the same way. I'm like, I'm not writing love songs. That's like, you know, so cliche and stuff like that. And then I have one love song, and that I kind of wrote it by accident for a couple weeks before our wedding. So that kind of, I mean, it's very emotional that time. So I just kind of, that was one of those songs where I just sat down, like in 15 minutes I was done with the song. I don't usually fall in love, baby, but I can't help it because it's you. I don't usually fall for puppy eyes, baby, but I'll make an exception with you, because you're the string to my guitar, and in the night my morning star. Guess what? I'll never let go of you.
Wow.
Just writing it, right? I just had like guitar and just vocals, and that was it.
Wow.
And
amazing.
And so obviously, you know, you can't be like, oh, I'm never gonna write a love song, and I'm never gonna write a song or party song, and like there's a time and place for that.
Exactly. And if it comes out naturally, then like I believe if a song idea comes out completely naturally, you have to go with that. You know, you have to go with that flow. Otherwise, you could be losing something that might be incredible. You know.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, the majority of people say that is their favorite song out of all the songs I've written over a decade now.
Oh wow.
Like I've been writing for 14 years. And like,
wow.
And then they're like, oh yeah, that's my favorite song. I'm like, really? Like the love song? Because it's again, I didn't want to have that like cliche, like I love you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I wrote it completely different, and it's coming from the aspect. I literally open the song, and I don't usually write love songs, baby, but I'll make an exception for you. And so the entire song is really about like these cliches. Like I don't do this, but this time I'll make an exception. And so,
that's cool. I like that. That's a good idea. Wow. Wow.
So that's what's like, because I'm like, no, I'm not writing a love song. I don't.
Yeah.
That road, and You don't have to be a Taylor Swift where the entire album is just
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
love and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Taylor Swift. I love listening to her songs, but
Yeah.
that's not necessarily the route I need to go down. And
Yeah.
I'll leave that to the experts. And so I just think I resonate to other artists that do the same, that, and that's
Yeah.
why I reached out. I'm like, oh, like, this is cool. Like, I love
Yeah.
and they're so different. So yeah, I just
Cool.
wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, thank you.
I love the story that you told about how your studio came together, because I want to touch about that really quick. Because you have a studio, I hope I mentioned this in the beginning, the Holywell studio. Kind of explain how that happened, because I think that's a great opportunity really for artists to kind of notice, like, oh, COVID had also its benefits. That's when I started my podcast, right? And so you kind of to build the studio.
Absolutely, yeah. So before we've only had the studio not even a year now. It's only been like maybe 9 months that we've had the studio, and before that, Josh and I, my producer, we were working out of our bedroom. So I live in East London and he lives further East London. And so we were just going back and forth. I was bringing my guitars to his place. He was coming to my place. And we were just, most of the songs that I released were done like that in our bedrooms. Yeah. And, COVID happened. So I had no gigs. We weren't allowed to basically see other people. You were allowed to have your bubble for work, but you weren't allowed to see anyone else. So we had this bubble because we worked together. So we had this opportunity to get the studio space right in the heart of Shoreditch in East London. And so we just jumped on it, and we were like, man, like, we started having all these ideas of, we can treat this as a business. We can start actually collaborating with other artists. We can start expanding our kind of, musical network by not just writing and releasing music. We can do mixing jobs for other people. We can do mastering. We can do vocal tracking. We can do all kinds of stuff if we have a decent space like this. Yeah. So we jumped on that opportunity, and we spent the first kind of, I would say, 2 months of lockdown just literally building the studio, because it was an empty space. It was just an office. There was nothing there. So no furniture, and we had to soundproof the whole thing. We had to get, decent equipment, because in our house, we were just working on like a normal little interface, this and that, I had some really terrible speakers. So, we actually had to invest into some good equipment so we can do our jobs properly. Yeah. After a few months, we were kind of up and running. And ever since then, we've been here. I mean, I'm here literally every day. And it's nice to feel like I have a place to go to work, right? Because I working from, I have been working from home my whole life, just making music, recording, this and that. Yeah. And it feels good. It feels good to actually go somewhere to work, because the house can get really claustrophobic, especially if you're trying to get inspired or, get some new ideas. The house can feel really just, because you're there all the time, right? So, I remember the first 2 months that we were in the studio, I was just so excited. I had so many ideas. I was just like playing around. We were staying here till like 4 in. We were just like, it was an incredible feeling. So now it's up and running, Hollywell Studio. And it's exciting.
Dang. Yeah. Plus it's like, again, another stream of income, right? It's like
exactly. Yeah.
Kind of what we were talking about before. So it's but it also proves like you don't need the studio to get started, right? Like you said, like the majority of your did at home, and you didn't have the best equipment.
Exactly.
So it's good. Like the home studio is perfect to get started. And nowadays, thank goodness we have the opportunity to do that. We don't have to book really expensive studio time. Yeah. If you could go to bed tonight and wake up the next morning with one skill that you could do perfectly for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Interesting. Like in terms of music or in terms of anything?
I believe anything is related to music. So
right.
So like you could be like more productivity or music marketing or instrument or writing songs or whatever?
I would say vocals, like singing, because that's an area that I feel is the weakest for me. I feel like I'm not confident in my voice, and I've always felt that way. But
Yeah.
I think, and I've taken loads of vocal lessons, and I've built a lot of confidence in my voice, but it's still not my the area of music that I'm most comfortable in. So yeah, I mean, and everybody loves a good voice, right? So like, if I could have a voice that would resonate with everybody, I would absolutely take that. Yeah, because you can do so many things with a good voice,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the thing people will relate to most is a voice,
Yeah.
especially just the average listener to music. That's the one thing they relate to. They almost don't care about the drums or the bass or anything like that. It's all about the vocal, right? So if I could have a vocal like that, I would totally do that. Yeah.
That's interesting because I thought, like, listening to all your stuff, I'm like, oh, he must be so like mature in his voice, and he's just like always on fleek. And I love your voice. I think it has that
Oh, thank you.
rich, like deeper tone, but then you also have
Yeah.
this roughness to it. So it
Yeah.
it's this like rock alternative like pop vibe that you're going
Yeah.
for. So it
Yeah.
has like that roughness to it, but that like nice, rich, deep voice.
Oh, thank you.
So it's
Thank
so
you.
I think it's so interesting how how we perceive someone and then how we
Yeah.
view ourselves, right? We're like,
Yeah.
I can totally feel that. I'm totally insecure about my vocals too. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't have to sing on my tracks. That's great. If I can find someone to get jump on them, perfect.
Yeah.
But
Oh, dear.
so at least you're out there and putting yourself out there, because I think that is scary. I think vocals are the most scary thing to like.
It is. Yeah. I mean, they're the most, like, because it's you putting yourself out there for the world, right? I mean, you're exposing yourself through your voice. And it's also the most important thing in a song. It's the thing people are going to listen to. It's the thing people want to hear.
Yeah.
So, those two elements together make vocals like a scary thing, really, really scary thing. And like I said, I'm still not fully confident in my voice. It's the area that I want to improve the most. And I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm getting to that level where I have that confidence. Yeah.
That's I can tell you later on. I can because there's an episode where I interviewed she's an opera singer.
Oh, wow.
And she completely changed my mind about singing and vocals. Just
Wow.
that I think we went well over an hour. I think it was like 1 hour 20 minutes or something. But
Wow.
she's amazing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna give the singing thing a shot, so
Yeah.
I can
Wow.
work with her because she's amazing. Just how she teaches
Absolutely.
it completely changes the game of singing.
Yeah. Wow.
I think it's just interesting how our insecurities we try to not hide them, but like we think we have these insecurities and someone else is like, dang, this dude has like a banger voice, like awesome. And then like and then we're so insecure, exactly else that thinks it's I just think it's weird how we perceive ourselves rather than like how others.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. Wow.
The one question I like to ask is what are like 3 things or like advice that you would like to give to other artists that are listening to this, something they maybe should look out for, or something that's have helped you where you're like, I would have if I could have known this like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it would save me more time.
Yeah. I would say one thing would definitely be the releasing of the releasing of singles. I think just the age that we live in, with digital and with social media, I think it is so important to establish yourself as an artist through singles. I think working on an album is great, and you can have an album in mind, but to get yourself to that level where an album would be beneficial,
Yeah.
I think you have to start with singles. So I would say, don't write your first song and then release it straight away. Maybe write your first 3 or 4 songs so you're covered for the next, 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
I think that's, as a upcoming artist, I think that's a really important thing to get into. It's like a habit to get into. And then I would say, as another point or piece of advice, something that's worked for me is playlist pitching, right? So everybody wants to get on a Spotify playlist, right? Like it is a very important thing for artists to get on Spotify playlists. It's not gonna, you're not gonna make an income from it, but it's a really good exposure.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think treat playlists as an exposure. Don't look at it as a revenue stream, right? You need that to build up your fan base.
Thank you. Yes.
Right? I mean, it's
I'm trying to tell people, like, they see it as, oh, it's like, no. If you treat it like a source of income, you'll be broke forever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
So treat it as exposure, and pitching playlists is super important. So websites like Submit Hub or like Playlist Push or all these submitting websites, I hear a lot of complaints about them, about, oh, I don't get anything, I don't see anything. I think that comes down to like who you're targeting, like what kind of playlist you're targeting, but also it could come down to your song, right? The quality of the song, because like I said, unfortunately, people have very, very short attention spans. People don't want to listen to a 6 or 7 minute song, so I think having that hit factor, that like high intensity, in any genre, it could be like slow or whatever, but even a ballad, but get them right from the beginning, right? Like I said earlier, there's no rules in songwriting, but there are guidelines that I like to follow, and one of them is grab them at the beginning of the song, and I think that's where you'll see benefits with Submit Hub or things like that. And then I guess a final piece of advice would be kind of what we said earlier, which is don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So make sure to cover different areas of music, because music has so many areas, right? You can go to like radio, you can go to sync, you can go to play live if you can collaborate, you can offer yourself as a top liner or a lyricist. I mean, there are so many little things you can do, which I think is absolutely one of the most important things, because otherwise you're going to isolate yourself and you're going to get stuck into one, you're going to get tunnel vision, right? And you're not going to be able to break out of that habit. So yeah, that's what I think.
That's great advice. That is, perfect. I mean, this is what this podcast is really built upon. Is like, it's for musicians, right? We're just kind of all learning what to do. I mean, we are changing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Like the music business is changing, and and some of us are kind of stuck, and some are like, oh, this is working. And so I think it's important that we just all help each other out and be like, what, this hasn't done anything for me, this has worked or whatnot. Like
absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you for like sharing that advice, and
no worries, my pleasure.
Being so open and honest, and that's what I just really look forward to in an artist. Like, I don't know, like, good music is great, but I'm like, okay, what person is behind that? What person is representing that? That for me sometimes is more important, because I'm like, okay, I'm not just supporting your music, but I'm supporting you as a person. And if you're an idiot, then then I'm like, I don't know if I don't know. It just like all of a sudden. So I'm like, okay, might as well. There are songs that I can move on to. So that's why, thank you for putting out great music and continuously doing that, right? Just like staying on it. Having your studio now, and wow, like that's great.
Thank you.
My closing questions that I like to ask seems very simple, but I think it's like the hardest one to answer. But I think you kind of hinted on answering this. But what makes a good song for you?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow. That's interesting because we all have certain things that we like in music, right? Some of us,
Exactly.
like my producer Josh, for example, he's all about the drums. Like he
Yeah.
is absolutely obsessed with drums. Like, he could give a crap about the lyrics,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's obviously a very kind of subjective. So yeah, I would say what makes a great song for me is something that grabs me right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like even with the intro, right? So if the intro can grab somebody,
Yeah.
then I think the song is good. I mean, even in a lot of my songs, I don't even really do an intro because I
Mhm.
feel like people's patience just can't really handle that.
Mhm.
Artistically, I might want an intro, but
Yeah.
you have to kind of sit back and think as a listener. You have to sit there and listen to it and go, is this actually necessary?
Mm.
So yeah, I think if a song grabs me from the beginning, then it's going to be a good song.
Mhm.
And then it comes down to gosh, like the vocal is obviously one of the most important parts of a song. I mean,
Yeah.
even if your voice sounds weird, like it doesn't matter if the voice sounds weird. Like I love Alt J. Like he's got a weird voice, but the melodies that he uses, the relationship between the vocal and the harmony and this and that, I think makes for great music. So yeah, I think that's what makes great music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool because like again, it's different for everyone. Because I think it's so funny because as you think like as a musician, you would have this figured out. It's like, oh, this is like the easy question, but it was so funny when I I'm like, oh, this is like an obvious question, and then I was trying out at the beginning of my podcast, just trying out questions, be like, which ones are resonating, which one are flopping, and blah blah blah. And for some reason, surprisingly, this was like the hardest one to answer for everyone. So like, okay, I'm gonna make my last question.
Yeah.
So
It's good because like all elements of a song are important, but like what is the most important, or what is the best, right? Yeah, it's interesting.
Thank you for holding out so long with me and the Wi-Fi, kind of
No worries.
Fading in and out, but that's just how it is on Zoom. That's how you know that we're recording this live. But yeah, thank you again. I just want to acknowledge you for all your amazing work, and I love it. So it's good that there's always regular content coming from your side, so I always have something to listen to.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot.
Where can people find you? Where can they check out your music, and also like Holywell Studios and stuff like that? And
So I mean, so you can find me anywhere really. Jennings Couch. It's my name. It's my real name. You can Google it or social media. You'll find me everywhere because luckily the name is quite unique. So I'll probably be the first one to come up. But yeah, you can find Hollywell Studio on Facebook or Instagram. So that's we're looking to collaborate with kind of anyone who wants to. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't have any problems finding you anywhere. So it's your Instagram, Spotify, iTunes,
everywhere.
YouTube. I found you as well.
YouTube, even if you're someone who uses Deezer. I mean, I don't know who uses Deezer, but if you do, I'm there.
I've never used it, so I can't really.
Me neither.
Speak for that, but apparently people do. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist.
They do, yeah.
But I'll link everything up below as well in the description box, so people will have no trouble finding you. After you just click that button, and it'll send you the Instagram or YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, whatever you're listening to, whatever your thing is. Right. Awesome. Then so and I always want to say holy water, but it's not Holywell. Holywell. Every time I'm like, oh, listen to holy water. Holywell Studios. Exactly. Because I saw you also have a Spotify playlist for that as well.
We do, yeah. So we have a Spotify account for Holywell Studio where we're starting to curate our own playlist. So things that we like or people that we work with, we'll add them to the playlist. And in the future, we're going to try and grow these playlists and hopefully even become a curator on something like Submit Hub. So that's kind of what I'm aiming to do with that. Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Then that I'll link that playlist up as well. Yeah, because
Awesome.
I saw that. That's something I didn't have time to kind of go through all of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's looking for fresh new music, so that's definitely
Exactly.
a place to go to. So thank you so much for your time.
No worries. No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Musician Secrets podcast. I appreciate your time because you could literally be doing a bazillion other things right now, but you're here with me, so thank you. If you want, you can scroll all the way to the bottom and leave a comment on how you're liking the podcast, what you've learned, and things you've even implemented that have helped you out. As a little thank you, I put together a free members area with all my best resources, books, podcasts, and online courses about everything you need to know as an independent musician, from producing to songwriting to marketing to building a home studio, all the good stuff. All you have to do is either click the link below or go to alisecoa.com/free. I'll see you on the other side. Bye.
Oh, I wanna meet the maker. Yeah, I wanna be there face to face. I know it's gonna make me stronger. Yeah, you're gonna be my savior. Oh, you're gonna be there for me. Gotta face it day to day. I know it's gonna make